Welcome back as we continue our conversation and debate over whether New Yorkers should approve a state constitutional convention. We're now going to turn the discussion over to our participants and give them a chance to ask each other questions. Jerry Kremer, you begin with a question for Richard Brodsky.
Well, Richard, I detect a note of cynicism in the way you're talking about the legislature. You seem to feel that they do some things okay, but you need a convention to resolve it. And I'm saying, as a person who made changes in the legislature, why are you so cynical about the legislative process?
No, the cynicism is yours, Jerry. You're the one who's saying we can't get a convention off the ground. I believe the legislature has done a much better job than it gets credit for. I've defended it publicly, and I believe some of the things that we need done
then I'm right.
You're right until I get to finish. Right. But there are big, important things like ethics reform that the legislature and the governor have not addressed, that a convention can address because it's not the legislature.
Richard Brodsky, question for Jerry Kremer.
Jerry, let's put aside this question of risk, pensions and
How do you put aside risk?
For the purposes of the debate, I'm asking you a question.
Okay.
If you put that aside, is there any other reason not to have a convention?
I think it's a great ceremonial event in these particular times that we don't need. I'm convinced that public pressure directed toward the legislature can get more changes than having this glorious event which is going to be dominated by political parties.
Jerry Kremer, question for Richard Brodsky.
You seem to think that the higher ed, that education, that all these things are going to be made better with a constitutional convention. You seem to be saying that a convention is a one-size-fits-all. Is it?
It can be, and or it could fail. I'm not sitting here predicting an absolute victory, but I am saying if you care about higher ed, if you want in the Constitution a right to a higher education, like we now have a right to secondary and elementary education. No, you have the first, you don't have the second. Those are the things that a convention can spend the time thinking about, and then remember, the people control the product. If the recommendation is turned down, it doesn't happen, there is no risk, Jerry.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. That is going to do it for the special presentation on a possible New York State Constitutional Convention. Our thanks to tonight's panelists, Jerry Kremer and Richard Brodsky, and special thanks to you at home for joining us. Thanks so much. Good night. We want you to join in our debate. Should New York hold a constitutional convention? If so, what issues should a convention address? What worries you about a possible con-con? And how would you amend the state constitution? Post your comments at the Richard French Live Facebook page, and we may include them in a future broadcast.